Hello and welcome to the Not the Old Firm YouTube channel. Speaking to you all just moments after Scotland's dodgy 2-1 win in the Czech Republic. To say it was a scare probably doesn't do it justice. Jakub Pesek in the first 11 minutes putting a second string Czech Republic team ahead when this team had been put together 24 hours before. They'd just beaten Slovakia 3-1, but due to positive COVID tests in their camp, a full new team containing mainly Czech domestic players was put together. They were ahead after 11 minutes, but Scotland eventually getting it over the line. Lyndon Dykes with a really good finish after 28 minutes and a Ryan Christie penalty in the second half, just about sealing a win, but it was not easy. This was a game Scotland probably should have been winning really comfortably, a game which on paper at the start of the Nations League campaign probably looked like their hardest game, probably turned into their easiest game as it turned out after the events of the weekend. But wow, it was a painful watch, wasn't it, James?
That was garbage.
It was.
And I want to be polite and I want to be positive and whatever else, but no, that's nowhere near good enough. And I mean, you called them a second string Czech side. That's being very, very generous. I mean, the second string Czech side would have been the remainder of the guys that were left in the squad. These guys weren't even in the 23, 24 man squad. So this is third, fourth, fifth string at best.
We'll cover it all in this short video to give a bit more background to sort of the lead up to this game, as we've all been aware. On Friday night, basically soon after we recorded our reaction to the Israel game, another pretty disappointing result for Scotland. But straight after recording that, the Czech FA put out a tweet saying that the game tonight was postponed due to positive COVID tests in their camp. I think West Ham midfielder, Thomas Souček and Roma striker Patrick Schick were self-isolating following, I think, contact with a member of the backroom staff at the Czech Republic after testing positive. Then came the Saturday, UEFA said, no, you're going to be playing. Scotland were told, yes, you're still going to be going to the Czech Republic, and plans went on as normal for Scotland to head over to, I think, you'll need to, there we go, bail me out with the pronunciation. But the game was set to go ahead, but with the one change being that the Czech Republic were going to have to change their full entire squad. And
coaching staff.
And coaching staff. So it was change manager, change defender. I think, funnily enough, the defender who scored in the 1-0 win in the infamous 4-6-0 game started at centre back, coming out.
He was a captain tonight, shouldn't it?
Coming out of retirement, international retirement anyway, to play in this game, and it just, I think if we're going to be positive, I'll start with a wee positive to start this. Lyndon Dykes, I think, should be Scotland's main striker. I know it's only been 2 games, but he's shown more in these 2 games than any Scotland strikers have in the past 2 years.
Yes and no. I can see the argument. I have been impressed with Dykes in these 2 games, but I would also say that in these 2 games he's played the Czech equivalent of playing St Johnstone, and he played Israel. So I mean, he's not played big games yet. He's not played games where there's. I mean, tonight was a free hit. Tonight there should have been almost no pressure on that Scotland side. They should have been able to go out and kind of reasonably go into that game with little expectation, other than they should have won that. And for some reason, they look like deer caught in headlights pretty much for the first kick of the ball. And I don't know, like, there's still a lot of questions around Dykes for me. I want to see how he copes in the Championship. If he goes down there and he's not kicking a ball, then can you argue that he should be ahead of McBurney, who'll be likely playing, if not every week, he'll be playing most weeks?
I think that in terms of actual Scotland action, then Dykes has been decent enough. I like McBurney. I think in an ideal world, if everyone's on form, McBurney probably gets the nod. But I think Dykes has more than shown that he's definitely at least capable, that if need be, he can perform that role just as well. And the thing that stood out to me is that he looked bothered. There wasn't enough Scotland players there playing against the Czech Republic C team, B team, whatever it is, who actually looked like they were bothered. They thought they could just show up and just they'll get there eventually. Whereas this Czech team were obviously buzzing. I mean, most of these guys were never going to get a shot at international football. This just came out of the blue. They probably watched the game in their house with their mates on Friday, think, oh, that was a great result over Slovakia we had, and then on the Monday they're playing. It probably came right out of the blue, so they were probably high on adrenaline. And Linden probably the only player in a Scotland shirt that at least tried to match those levels.
There's 9 Czech players made their international debuts tonight. 9. I bet you of that 9 of them never win another cap.
Well, I mean,
there'll be more than that, including the boys that come off the bench. There's probably maybe 12. I'm not sure if on the substitute, but there was 9 starting.
I'm pretty sure I seen a stat before the game, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there was only 2 international players with senior caps in that team before the game, which just shows you the level of inexperience at international level. And never mind that, I mean, Scotland have got, on paper at least, a very good side squad. I mean, you had players like John McGinn on the bench tonight. Talk about the formation as well before we go on any further. Went for 3 at the back again. Scott McTominay again at centre back. Didn't exactly work on Friday. And again, probably not through Scott McTominay's fault. I mean, he's not a centre back, so it's only natural that he's probably not going to perform as well.
It makes sense that he stuck with the 3 at the back because, as I say, it's this game where there's not a huge amount of pressure on them. There's not a huge amount of expectation. So you can kind of go and you can experiment a little bit. And I think you saw in the starting 11 that the likes of Kenny McLean coming in, who I thought was garbage. I thought it was really poor tonight. But even like Stuart Armstrong coming into the starting 11, Callum McGregor dropping out. I think it was the first in 18 games that he's missed. So there was a certain amount of experimentation there, and it made sense for him to stick with the 3 at the back. But I cannot say this in clear enough terms. Scott McTominay is not a central defender. I don't care how you want to dress it up.
Banker. They should be doing everything to get him playing in his natural position, because in his natural position, he's probably one of the, if not the best Scotland have in terms of that CDM role.
See, if you want to use him as a kind of central defender, you use him as a holding midfielder and you let him drop in deep when your wing backs go forward. So if you're going to use, be it Robertson or Tierney on the left and James Forrest, or maybe Liam Palmer, who I thought was quite okay tonight. If you let them go, he can drop in deep, and that'll make a bit more sense. But putting him at centre back for the vast bulk of the game is just nonsense, because you're nullifying the guy's strongest attributes. So you're just putting round square pegs into round holes, and it makes no sense. Especially when you're shoehorning Tierney on the other side. I know he didn't do it tonight, but I think all things being equal, if you were to take the strongest 11 from that squad, McTominay was going to be Clarke's option at the right centre back position, and Tierney would be his first pick at left centre back. You've got 2 guys who are both inexperienced there. It doesn't work at all.
For me, I know Tierney's start time, but he needs to find a way to get him and Robertson playing in the same team. And I know it's hard because it's at a detriment to other players almost, because you're trying to shoehorn them in, but they're also...
I would flip them around. I would let Robertson do the more defensive side of things. So against Israel, they had Tierney as a centre back and Robertson as the wing back. I'd go the other way around. I think Robertson's a steadier player defensively, and I think Robertson's better going forward than he is in defence. But I think defensively he's better than Tierney is. So you let them switch going forward like they've done to fairly good effect against Israel, I thought. I just thought defensively it didn't really work very well for them. I think if you had Robertson sitting more and you let Tierney be an attacking threat, it would work better.
Right, well, a tweet from Pine Bovril that was put up after the game. I don't know if you've seen it, but it goes as follows. Excellent win for Scotland away from home against a side sitting above us in the rankings. Unbeaten in 5, a run spanning almost a calendar year. 4 wins and a draw, scoring 4 wins in the process. Top of our Nations League group. Now, obviously, this was put up in somewhat of a sarcastic manner after that display tonight. But, I mean, if you just read a sheet of paper, is there positives to take from the fact that they at least managed to scrape this, or is there just absolutely none?
The bare arse of it is they've came away from the double header with 4 points and sit top of the group. So yeah, if you want to just look at it on that level, it's a relatively good international break. If you want to look at the bigger picture and look at next month's games, there's, and this may be a very out of turn comment to make, but looking ahead to next month's game, Steve Clarke's jacket's on a very sugary peg already.
Well, the thing for me in next month's games is that we've played two teams that probably should be beaten, especially against the Czech Republic, given the team they had out. But if you go into the Israel game next month again, that's not going to be a free pass again, because they've shown that they are more than capable of matching Scotland. See, even if they get through that game, which isn't a guarantee, you're then playing either Serbia or Norway, I'm pretty sure. And if anybody here has watched any of the highlights, especially of the Norway game against Northern Ireland, playing against Haaland just now will be, I dread to think of what would happen to any team in the world playing against him just now, never mind Scotland. So I think like they seriously need to, they've had 10 months to work out what works best, what works best where. I know you can't get that time on the training pitch and stuff to figure things out, but there's been enough time at least for planning to say, right, if we do this, this should work if we can get the players to buy into it. There just doesn't, it just seems to be experimentation, and I think it's too late for that.
For me, it always back down to the squad that was picked. And I said it before that it was a very imbalanced squad. 3 left backs there, and Tierney, Robertson, and Greg Taylor. Greg Taylor's no kicked the ball. What's the point? I mean, if he was going to, I know I suggested previously that we would maybe use Taylor as a backup left back to Robertson, give him some game time tonight, or do it against Israel, however we want to work it. He's not seen a single minute. So it's one of these positions where left backs are relatively specialist position as it is. As you've got Tierney and you've got Robertson there, if you're bringing a third one along, like that's something you could have used to bring maybe a more attack-minded player along. Somebody, even just somebody along to give them that experience of being kind of in the squad. I mean, there's some young guys in the 21 squad that would have benefited much more for the experience and even possibly the minutes in these two games than taking Greg Taylor along, who at the very best was third choice for that position. At the very, very best.
Okay, well, I think that tonight, thank you all for watching this. Remember to subscribe to us on YouTube as we try and grow the channel. It's much appreciated. Check out our videos from over the weekend. We had obviously a reaction to Israel. We've had an exclusive with Lewis Fiorini, Scotland prospect. Could be by the time this has been up for 12 hours, Scotland under 21s prospect. And tomorrow morning, as this goes up on the Monday night, we'll have an exclusive with Mark Milligan, former Australia captain and Hibs midfielder. Till next time, take it easy.